combating the mutual enemies of scarcity, underdevelopment, joblessness, and fear. This bad thing breed. For this reason, to join you in this battle, I am honored to meet with you, the leaders, the business community, and private sector. Lagos is an appropriate venue to do it. You may have heard that I was once a governor of this state, if you didn't know before. I was once governor. May I remind you that when I first entered office, Lagos was a different story. I listened to the current governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. I feel thrilled. I thought my day was made. I don't have to address you again. He said it all. My team and I developed a blueprint, a master plan for Lagos. I can say that plan has been largely successful. We turned this state into a safer, more prosperous place where people can go about any legitimate vocation or venture, regardless of their ethnicity, religion, region, or prior social status. We did more than open Lagos for business. We opened the door for all Nigerians to join and experience the recent things progressive democratic governance can bring. We were not perfect, but we did a lot. In doing so, we work hand in hand with the business community as partners, sharing the same goal of prosperity and renewed hope. Well, as you might have heard at some point recently, I now stand before you seeking a bigger yet similar job. The pragmatic problem solving and teamwork, unbreakable teamwork that improves Lagos is what I want to bring to the nation. I ask you to help as the task ahead is doable but difficult. Here I will say something that captures the essence of our economic challenge. Each of us has the voice, this belief, before in various ways, and you own your words. Each time I say or hear it, I become humbled by the enormity of what we face. Yet, I'm also inspired that we can surmount this great challenge. From its very inception, our political economy has been imbalanced and in need of major reform. Our political economy is much too dependent on the export of raw materials or unfinished goods and the import of increasingly expensive finished products. Over the course of the time, gains from natural resource exports will prove largely insufficient to meet the rising cost of imports, let alone support even the most basic demand of modern democratic governance. The time is now to cure this lapse. It's a disease. We must cure it. And time is of essence, for it does not wait for any man or nation. We commend the work of a prior administration, especially the present government. They did their best. This government has performed with the patriotism and commitment during trying times. If you don't know it was trying time, I know. And many Nigerians know. But we simply must go further and faster. My experiences in both private sector and elective office afford me a special appreciation of economic potency that close collaboration between government and the business community can bring. Allow me to share a few ideas that provide some insight into my vision for a more prosperous and secure nation, where hope is renewed and despair is rebuffed. Well, regular dialogue. All Nigeria must invested in a better future. We must maintain the channels and spirit of respectful and productive dialogue. At the same time, at times, what I say may help you. Other times, what you say may enlighten me. I must listen. We must always talk and converse with the best of intentions, just as this open door policy is with me before the election. I shall continue to honor it, and after the election, I will continue to respect it. To revive the industry, yes, we have to. We shall bring the nation's industrial policy to life. Key to this is our aim to create major and minor industrial hubs in each of our geographical zones. We created this geographical zone artificially so that we can communicate and grow faster from bottom up. We shall not be satisfied by bolstering traditional sectors. We will foster productive excellence in new areas such as light manufacturing and Nollywood entertainment sector. through active participation in digital economy. We shall make Nigeria a leader instead of a bystander. This is in the fourth industrial revolution. We must target, and we will, I assure you, target growth at very least. We must achieve GDP growth of minimum 6%, if not 10% per annum. Promote agriculture. We shall continue to press reforms in the sector that will increase productivity, improve farm incomes while lowering food prices, and bring enough food to the table of ordinary people. Power. Nigeria, I am determined. They are Nigerians. I am determined, I repeat, to give you the affordable and reliable power you need to drive your businesses in a way that lifts the entire economy and ordinary person. We must produce. We cannot produce without constant electricity. It's crucial. And we have what it takes to bring this electricity to you all. We have the gas. We have the sun. We have the wind. We have the water. What are we waiting for? Therefore, we must produce and buy. We must produce. Please note, then buy Nigeria. We see a consumer credit revolution. Work in concert with the banking industry. And I saw many of you here. I am excited. Very, very happy indeed. Led by the CBN, we must establish affordable credit that enables the purchase of more cars made in Nigeria. The construction of more homes built in Nigeria. Bring the money home. The standard of living rise and strengthens. The business sector shall increase in so many folds. Build Nigeria. We must continue with the expansion of infrastructure commenced by the current government. From our roads and ports, you've lands of the deep sea port. It took a while. It took strong determination and perseverance for me standing before you here to start the dream and realize the goal of that seaport. Continue the expansion of the infrastructure. Land and water management. All catchment area must be studied to stem humanitarian and economic tragedy visited on us by seasonal flood. Do we need a back-to-back channelization? Do we need dredging? Regular? We need secondary and primary drainage system. We need reticulation of our farmland. I have saved the most single important point for last. May I conclude with my thought on security. We shall continue to fight against insecurity by redefining our counterinsurgency doctrine and practice. Our response to terror, kidnapping, and violent criminality will be defined by the following elements. We shall enlist more people in the armed forces, security services, and the police. Our forces shall be given better tactical communication mobility as well as improved area and ground surveillance capacity. Through this and other measures, we shall identify, monitor, track, and defeat the evil groups where they are anywhere. Small inch of our land. We shall have no respite until they surrender or are ultimately defeated. What I've shared today is a brief overview of some thoughts on how to improve and protect our beloved nation. Town shall meet. Town hall meeting is but first of many sessions I would like to hold with you, the business community. Since you came as a group, I came as a member of your team. My esteemed and exceptionally able running mate, Shetima Kasim, will share his thought on key aspects of our action plan. Will we be followed by others who represent our now and tomorrow? You think young, you build young, you develop future leadership, you make a tomorrow better than today because of your faith and their capacity to dream, wonder, and believe that a nation is not driven by itself, but the content and the people who resides in it, who will not be satisfied with the average standard of living. A nation like Nigeria, the giant of Africa, it will move, crush all enemies, bring progress and prosperity for us today and tomorrow. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.
Put your hands together one more time for His Excellency Siwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the APC presidential candidate. Administration will do once elected into office. If you want to put your hands together for His Excellency, you can very well do that. His Excellency has said, as he was concluding his speech, that he would like his eminent running mate to make some comments as well. So I would like to now invite His Excellency, the distinguished Senator Kashim Shettima Mustafa. Your Excellency, sir, please put your hands together for the incoming Vice President.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when I was coming for this function, my mentor, Mr. Jim Ovia, was understandably apprehensive, bearing in mind my spectacular performance at the NBA conference. He was apprehensive whether I will come with my sneakers, like the governor of Para, with my Mango Park suit. But this time around, I don't know what the critics will end up saying. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank our leader and presidential candidate, the quintessential Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for his sterling leadership thus far and for his profound words this afternoon. It is an honor for me to walk by his side on our mandate to take our nation to greater heights. If you have had time to read the recently launched manifesto, you will see that we have developed a truly comprehensive action plan. I will briefly walk through the various elements. My colleagues will talk about our fiscal and monetary policies, the oil and gas sector, technology, the creative arts, education, health, entertainment, and sports. I will therefore not talk much about these areas. I will start with a topic that we know is on everyone's mind at this time: security. We recognize that insecurity is a major deterrent of private enterprises and investments, not to talk of the threat to life and livelihoods. That is why we plan to adopt a proactive and intelligence-driven approach to addressing the nation's security challenges. These will include bolstering security forces in numbers, training, equipment, salaries, and welfare. In the last 8 years, our defense budget has increased from 400 billion naira to 1.2 trillion naira per annum. In similar vein, our administration is prepared to make the necessary further investments in order to significantly reduce the nation's security threats. On the other topical matter of the economy, our target, is rightly encapsulated by my principal, is to achieve double-digit GDP growth within a couple of years. The next speaker will talk about the fiscal and monetary policies that will underpin this growth. And of course, we cannot achieve such rapid but necessary sustainable economic trajectory without the requisite infrastructure base. Therefore, we plan to partner with you, the private sector, to undertake a national campaign to develop the infrastructure necessary to facilitate profitable enterprise and improved quality of life. We will continue to engage with you to ensure we are providing you with the support you require in order to develop and implement bankable projects. Of particular note are our planned reforms to reposition Nigeria for sufficient on-grid power generation, transmission, and distribution. We currently transmit about 4,500 megawatts, which is far below our installed generation capacity of approximately 12,000 megawatts. We probably need to generate and deliver 20,000 megawatts to drive rapid economic growth and development in the near to medium term. To this end, we will also implement reforms to drive investment in rural and renewable energy. Addressing our power issue is not a luxury, but a necessity and must be treated as such. And globally, housing development is a big stimulator of economic growth and improved quality of life. With this understanding, we will introduce policies aimed at reducing the housing deficit across the country. These will include streamlining the land conveyancing process and providing the necessary incentives to boost mortgage lending as well as consumer credit in general. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for Nigeria to manufacture, create, and invent more of what Nigerians consume. As such, the Tinubu administration will work to align our infrastructure priorities with the Industrial Master Plan and introduce policies and incentives to encourage local production. As we have seen over the last few years, we cannot continue to be as import dependent as we have been. And shortly, my colleague Olu will also share more details about our plans to reform the oil and gas sector and how we are going to accelerate the full implementation of the PIA so as to fast-track the realization of the expected benefits to all stakeholders, including the use of our gas resources for the nation's electricity industry. Similarly, our action plan for agriculture will focus on how to increase agricultural productivity, mechanization, food security, and farm incomes. The impact of the recent floods on farms and lives has been a wake-up call for all of us. Our plans include establishing commodity boards, deepening the use of commodity exchanges, modernizing and enhancing our grain reserves, providing supporting infrastructure, and improving access to finance. As you may well imagine, another key priority for us is implementing reforms in the education and healthcare sectors aimed at raising the quality of lives of Nigerians, rich and poor alike. We expect to significantly improve the education sector by focusing on the following key indices: quality, access, funding, management, effectiveness, and competitiveness. The key thrust of our approach is to ensure that there is quality education for all. Technical and vocational education is improved, and tertiary education is placed on a solid and sustainable path. We are confident that these improvements will also yield significant benefits to employers. And as the saying goes, health is wealth. We'll therefore promptly address our nation's healthcare challenges, including inadequate health infrastructure, fragmentation, an overburdened workforce, poor insurance coverage, high maternal and infant mortality, inadequate preventive care, and dependence on imported medicines and vaccines. Please let me use this opportunity to applaud the role the private sector has been playing in augmenting the efforts of the three tiers of government in the education and health spaces. Mention must be made of the recent intervention by the private sector during the COVID pandemic. We trust we can count on your continued support. As progressives, we believe that to build a successful nation, you need the healthy collaboration of government, private sector, and non-governmental organizations. We also recognize that in some areas, it is the duty of the government to shoulder the lion's share of the responsibility. Needless to say, the execution of effective and targeted social programs is one such area. To this end, we will work with and for our youth, women, and the vulnerable, providing them with legitimate avenues to fulfill their greatest aspirations. We will both teach people to fish and feed them while they cannot feed themselves. Our social programs will include providing a mix of conditional and unconditional income support to the very poor, elderly, and disabled persons. As you know, one of Nigeria's impediments to attracting much needed investment has been concerns about the sanctity of contract and rule of law. Undoubtedly, the economic growth we are targeting can only be achieved by prioritizing improvements in our judicial system. The Tinubu administration will ensure that the legal sector functions transparently and with due process. Our policies will be based on judicial independence and integrity, respect for the rule of law, and appropriate legal framework, access to justice for all, and equality before the law. In addition, the Tinubu administration will work with the National Assembly and all stakeholders to amend the legislative list in the Constitution to ensure that states are given greater control over certain critical matters. These include crime prevention, prisons, stamp duties, and certain forms of taxation. Furthermore, the Tinubu administration will review the Federation Revenue Allocation System to recalibrate the divisions of funds amongst all three tiers of government. In so doing, our nation will attain the right balance between our collective purpose and our disparate realities at the grassroots. Last, but by no means the least, we will calibrate our foreign policy to support and promote the achievement of our economic and social objectives, especially regarding trade and security. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, now it's for me to speak from the heart. The respect that the black man gets in the world is directly tied to the performance of the Nigerian nation. The nation is at a crossroad, never before in the history of this nation. To paraphrase a great writer, the nation, the government, and the people are all trapped in a web of madness, in a circus of insanity, in a cauldron of sheer lunacy. Because the foibles of our ignoble past and the harrowing torments of a global economy in implosion has exacted an agonizing toll from a hapless citizenry. Nobody, we are not promising you heaven on earth, but we are promising you a hope for a better tomorrow. When you want to conduct the orchestra, you turn your back on the crowd. This gentleman seated is one of the most demonized Nigerians. But get it from me. Take it from me. As I have always said, the true hallmark of leadership is not the ability to carry a bag of cement. And Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we are not preparing for the Olympics, but an institution that relies on the superiority of ideas and track records. And show me, I dare to challenge you, show me among all the contestants for the presidency of this country, who has the experience, who has the track record, and of course, who has the intellect to catapult this nation to a higher pedestal. Leadership, Your Excellencies, goes beyond glamorizing poverty. No. We don't glamorize poverty, we fight poverty. I won't tell you that I have 2 pairs of shoes or I have a single watch. No. Leadership goes beyond spewing dubious statistics or basking in a mediocre performance as the governor of Anambra State. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I respect Atiku Abubakar, but leadership goes beyond unstatesman-like rantings, someone who cannot unite his own party. I wonder how he's going to unite this nation. The world is talking of artificial intelligence, of big data, of nanotechnology. The training that the elder statesman got from Kano School of Hygiene was that of a wole. And believe me, the ability to sell bottled water doesn't make one an expert on the economy. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my part in short is that Atiku Abubakar is no Abraham Lincoln. He is more of Raila Odinga. And come next year, we are going to permanently retire the political tourists back to Dubai. Thank you so much, and it's my singular honor to call, it's my singular honor to call on my colleague, Mr. Wale Edun, to give us our perspectives on our monetary and fiscal policies. My colleague, Mr. Wale Edun, will mount the rostrum and give us his own part. Thank you so much.
Mr. Wole Edun, standing as introduced by His Excellency Senator Shetima to speak.
Thank you very
So if
much.
we can just begin to just settle down a bit and listen to our speaker who is talking to us now on macroeconomy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President incoming. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I believe I fit into the demographic of the now rather than the future, as referred to by the APC presidential candidate. We have heard from the APC presidential candidate and the Vice President their plan, their economic plan for Nigeria. We have heard their determination and their commitment to provide the leadership that will produce double-digit growth, that will create employment opportunities, that will address the issue of poverty and inequality. And a strategy clearly stated here today and in the action plan is that they will rely heavily on the private sector, on investors, on you businessmen here to make the investments that increase productivity, that lead to growth, that lead to employment, that reduces poverty, which is the overall aim of their government, a sustained reduction in poverty. We know, and they understand very well, that the macroeconomic environment, the predictability of interest rates, exchange rates, growth rates, and indeed inflation are critical for investors. We heard here today from an investor who has been in this country 100 years with his family that the exchange rate, multiple exchange rates, is an issue. It is the commitment of a Tinubu Shetima administration to, within a reasonable period, say a year, unify the exchange rate, deliver a market-based, transparent system of foreign exchange trading. Clearly, there are other important areas, and they've touched upon them. Security has been mentioned by both the presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate. A stable environment for regulations where there's no flip-flop of policies and regulations. Reducing the bottlenecks that come with doing business, particularly with government, and of course the all-embracing infrastructure issue. However, there are problems. There is definitely a revenue problem. The government does not have enough revenue right now to operate. And you see it clearly in the spiraling debt burden that the country is experiencing. At the end of the day, by the time you have a growing economy, you will have higher revenue from taxes, from businesses that are doing well, that will give the government the funding that it requires to provide public goods and services. But in the meantime, what to do? A Tinubu-Shettima administration would immediately boost tax revenue, not by raising tax rates, but by compliance, by adding, re-engineering the system, using the latest technology, as the presidential candidate once did so many years ago in Lagos, and the benefit is being received and built on even till today. A widening of the tax net rather than burdening a few taxpayers. In addition, there are opportunities to boost revenue, immediate opportunities. We know that you have to incentivize key investors, and they're all here, so many of them in the front row here. They commit to making investment, taking risks, and they have to be incentivized. However, 5 trillion in taxes, tariff and duty waivers and exemptions clearly goes beyond what they need to operate and, in fact, what they get. Similarly, that's about 5 trillion naira. Similarly, the foreign exchange subsidy, 5 trillion naira, which will be coming to the government. And thirdly, oil theft. A Tinubu-Shettima administration would robustly confront, engage, and subdue, using state power, the vested interests that are costing 5 or 6 trillion a year. In addition, still talking about the revenue that the government needs immediately. Of course, the action plan says it, and they've said it here today. Oil subsidy will be removed. The subsidy on petroleum will be removed. That's another 6 trillion. When you add up those figures from 3 revenue-saving areas and 1 cost-saving area, it's over 20 trillion naira. That is the 2023 budget funded.